Nothing too much different. Kind of bring the same kind of scheme. They do small things slightly different, but it's nothing that we haven't really seen before.
A lot of extra motivation, maybe. I know you say faceless opponent, but is there any extra motivation going to USC and playing the Trojans down there?
For me, just being in LA, being back home, being in front of family that hasn't been able to make it out here, to see me play. So, that's really all I need.
Did you grow up a Trojan?
No.
Did you watch Trojans?
I did. I was a fan at one point, but I didn't grow up a Trojan. I liked Reggie Bush.
Did you?
I won't say that I liked the entire team. I liked Reggie Bush.
You the sort of guy who, on your own high school practice field tried to do some of the stuff you did or anything like that?
Absolutely.
Really?
Absolutely.
Can you pull some of it off now?
We'll see.
You guys watched some of the film from last year's game?
No.
Does the sting of that come back at all?
No. That was last year. It's a completely new year, new team, new players, completely different year.
You guys able to learn a lot from watching their Arizona game from last week?
I didn't even really watch it, to tell you the truth. But we'll watch film, see things that they did and bring them into the game, see what we can do from our offense that'll be effective against them, and then go from there.
You digging the Trojan Fight song? It seems to be playing incessantly for you guys.
I like it. I love it. It's the greatest thing I've ever heard.
Got it on your iPod now?
iPod, my iPad, everywhere.
It's got to be fun for you. Senior year, going back to LA, the last time you're going to play the Trojans. So you talked about the family there. A little bit more incentive then to do well.
There's an incentive every game. It's my last year. It's not just because I'm going back there. If they were coming here, it'd be the same way.
How much of an advantage do you feel you have in terms of depth?
I don't really know what their depth situation is, but I know from our team, just focusing on our team, there's probably not too many teams that have the depth at every position that we have. So, going against any opponent, I feel like we have the advantage there.
And does it also help that, so many of these blowouts, you and other players, would you have fresher legs at this point because of that?
That's how you look at it.
Do you look at it that
Do
way?
you?
I don't really pay too much attention to it. That obviously it helps, you're fresh, you're not beat up. But at this point in the season, 7-8 games in, you all kind of feel the same way, whether it's physically or mentally.
What kind of response do you think D'Anthony will get going to the Coliseum for the first time?
We'll find out. We shall find out.
It's not something, like you said, there's no added incentive for you. I don't sense it's for him either.
Yeah, it's just another game.
Any particular memories from 2 years ago playing down there, other than the fact you guys won going away? Any memories playing in that arena?
I didn't play.
You didn't play?
No.
Oh, okay. My bad.
Yeah. No.
Were you there?
Yeah.
What was it like standing on the sideline then for USC at USC?
It was crazy. It was a lot of fun.
Yeah.
A lot of fun. I got to bother some guys that I knew on that team, so that was a lot of fun for me.
It's always a big game for Southern Californians, isn't it?
Yeah, you're going home.
Yeah.
I feel like going for any player on this team that we travel to their home state or their hometown, it's a little bit different.
That's right. It was post-concussion for you then. Yeah, that's right.
Kenyon, you mentioned some of the Heisman stuff. How cool is that for you to be mentioned?
It's a blessing. I'm extremely happy to be even mentioned in that category, but it's not something that I really worry about right now.
A lot of work to be done.
Yeah.
Something you embrace, though? Being in that talk?
Yeah, you have to. Like I say, it's an absolute honor. It's a blessing to be there, but I don't really worry about it. It's
Oregon's never won a Heisman.
We'll cross that bridge when that time comes.
I think the reason he asked that question, I asked that question. Last year, LaMichael, he wouldn't really give the thought of in the Heisman race any credence, really. It's almost like you can't think of that kind of hype at this point, or do you allow yourself to think about the hype?
I don't even really look at it as hype. You're just in a category with a group of other guys. It's a group. It's a lot of guys getting the same attention you're getting. Mm-hmm. So you don't really worry about it. You focus on games.
How different of a running back are you now, midway through the season, compared to last year?
Completely different. Just how my game has evolved and kind of changing my running style a little bit. You definitely you evolve over time.
Can you give me a specific?
Just the way I run. With more physicality, being more physical than what I have been, seeing things a lot differently than what I have been, so you definitely evolve over time.
Kenyon, what's new to the team? Just talking with you and some of the other guys, you guys seem a little more serious today. How would you describe the team?
Just a serious day, I guess. You know, it's no different. You know, going out practicing. Probably a lot of us are tired from practice. You know, it was a pretty intense day. Probably it was a great day of practice. But no different mood, no different incentives. It's just another game.
Does that ever get boring?
What?
That same level all the time?
Nah, you get used to it. Never gets boring.
How do coaches typically approach kids going back to their hometown? Do they talk to them about it, or is it just an ignored thing?
It's an ignored thing. You don't even have to address that. There's nothing to address.
How much, Thomas